We have suspended the active search for the missing crew members from the fishing vessel Lily Jean after extensive search efforts yielded no additional results. Over the past 24 hours, the Coast Guard conducted an exhaustive search covering more than 1,000 square miles. Our crews employed multiple aircraft, cutters, and small boats operating continuously in extremely challenging and dangerous conditions. Despite these efforts, we have only located one deceased crew member. 5 crew members and 1 NOAA observer remain missing. This is an incredibly difficult and painstaking decision, but based on the totality of the circumstances, including the frigid water and air temperatures, the length of the time since the vessel sank, the recovery of 1 crew member not wearing a survival suit, and the discovery of an empty life raft, and the exhaustive scope of the search, I believe there is no longer a reasonable expectation that anyone could have survived this long, even if they had been wearing a survival suit. Suspending a search is never a decision the Coast Guard makes lightly. Our crews searched as long and as hard as they possibly could, always with the hope of bringing your loved ones back to Gloucester. The Coast Guard has initiated a formal marine casualty investigation led by the Northeast Coast Guard District and will be working with the NTSB. The purpose of this investigation is to determine the causal factors surrounding the sinking of the Lily Jean. We owe it to the families, the maritime community, and the public to understand what happened. We recognize that Gloucester is a tight-knit community where fishing has been a way of life for 400 years. And this tragedy is felt deeply, not only amongst the families and the loved ones of those aboard the Lily Jean, but by the entire community. We mourn alongside Gloucester, and we stand with those of you grieving. On behalf of the United States Coast Guard, our most heartfelt thoughts and prayers are with the families, friends, and loved ones. And I'm happy to take any questions as we go forward.
We'd ask folks to hold questions until.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Captain. As I mentioned, this news is a devastating blow for our community. But our grief and our sadness do not diminish in any way our respect and appreciation for the United States Coast Guard. In fact, those things are increased as a result of the courageous actions that your crews, Captain, have been engaging in for the last many hours, and we deeply, deeply appreciate it. With the suspension of the search and rescue effort, we now turn to a shift in the mission. We all remain committed to supporting the community and supporting the families, and that's part of what we wanted to discuss with you this afternoon. We will take action, we will take decisive actions, and we will support these families to the best of our abilities. Before I introduce our next speaker, I just want to let people know that we are joined by some folks up here who will not speak but who will be available to answer questions. First of all, I want to recognize Chief Warrant Officer Jim Bridges from Coast Guard Station Gloucester, the commanding officer. I want to recognize Father Jim Acadina, Reverend Rona Tyndall, Drew Tarr from the Office of Representative Ann Margaret Ferranti, Al Catone, who is the chair of the Gloucester Fisheries Commission, and Tony Gross, who is the president of our city council. There are also in this room other members of the city council, and we want to acknowledge them and thank them for being here. And as always, I want to thank Harbor Master Chris Lucido, in whose building we are right now, for his incredible efforts over the last many hours. We're going to talk to you now about what we're going to do moving forward and what this means to our community. And we're going to start with our governor, who was on scene here yesterday, who has been in constant communication with us, and who has pledged the full support of the government of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in the days that follow. Governor Healy.
Thank you, Senator. I want to begin by thanking the United States Coast Guard, who, as the Senator said, worked incredibly over the last several hours at their own peril to do everything that they could. So, gentlemen, I want to thank you and your teams. To the City of Gloucester, to the Gloucester Police Department, to the Harbor Master in the office, to city officials, thank you for all that you have done and continue to do. With the United States Coast Guard's decision to announce the suspension of the search for the Lily Jean, we join as a state in expressing our heartfelt condolences and sympathies to the families of those aboard the vessel. We join with the families, the fishing community, the City of Gloucester, and I know people up and down the east coast of the United States who've reached out in mourning this day and in grieving 7 brave individuals who are out there doing their job. Today, our prayers are with their families, most importantly. I also want to extend my prayers to all in this community. For 400 years, people have been fishing out of this harbor. And over the course of 400 years, there's been a lot of pain and heartache and loss. And that pain and heartache and loss is visited upon every generation that follows, that grows up with the stories, and that lives a life where every day out of the city, there are men and women, fathers and sons, daughters, who set out before dawn, not knowing what that day is going to bring. And I also want to acknowledge everyone who feels a particular pain today and what it recalls. And DeVito and Al, Angela, everyone here from this fishing community, you are beautiful and strong and resilient, and our prayers on behalf of the entire Commonwealth extend to you folks as well. Gloucester and its people are close to our hearts. Fishing and the ocean are not just a livelihood here. They're an identity, a history of family, and something that extends in impact far beyond this city. And that is why the loss of the Lily Jean ripples through this community and through this entire Commonwealth today. Today and in the weeks ahead, I want you to know that Massachusetts stands with you. We will do whatever we can to support our families in this time. I want to thank the Fishing Partnership and others who play an important role in this effort. But I want you to know, on behalf of the Lieutenant Governor and myself, we will be there in the weeks and the months, always in the time ahead, to do what we can. I ask that we all join in prayer, and also, I hope, find some comfort in the memories, the joys, the contributions, particularly of these people, both from the fishing community and the Observer, all doing what they love, all doing what they love. And that's why it's our obligation as a state to do everything we can to help these families and this fishing community. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. I also want to acknowledge the Chief Administrative Officer of the City of Gloucester, Jack Clark, who has been here nearly 24 hours a day as we've been working together for a community-wide response to these events. And it is true that we are deep in sorrow, but we are a strong community, and we will rise we will rise to this occasion, and we will draw on our faith and our strength, and you will see that in all the hours that will follow. Next, we're going to hear from Gloucester's Mayor, Paul Lundberg, who has also been here with us day and night, lending his support, his leadership, and we appreciate that. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Senator, and the Governor, thank you again for coming to be with us. This is, excuse me, a very important time. One of the things that we have in Gloucester is the Man at the Wheel statue down on the boulevard, and surrounding the base of the Man at the Wheel statue is the centergraph, and on that centergraph are the names of thousands of fishermen who went down to the sea in ships. In accord, that's from Psalm 107 at the base of the statue. They went down to the sea in ships and didn't come home. There are several thousand names there, and these names will be added there, as well as at City Hall, where we have the same listing on the wall of the stairway to the auditorium. But one of the things I wanted to say is that term, lost at sea. What we will do as a community is ensure that they are not lost, that they are found with us, and where in our hearts and our souls we have for those people who are no longer with us, but their families, and everyone in our community knows someone who's involved in this tragedy and involved in this industry. The fishing industry is more than an industry. Yes, people go and earn a living there and have equipment and go out and bring fish into the marketplace. They do all of that, but there's something more, and it is this element of danger and this element of there's a chance that we won't return. Our job as a community is to make sure that they are not lost, they are found. And we do that in very practical ways. We start with an awareness among all of our kids in school, some of whom will know kids that are directly impacted this. Some of them won't, but they all feel it. And we will make sure that they understand that the tragedy that has befell our community and how to deal with that tragedy, how to be open about it, how to reach out. And those of us who are adults will do the same thing in a variety of ways. And you'll hear, there'll be the kind of resources about, the things that are necessary to sustain the families, but also to sustain all of us. And we reach out to one another. We talk about what happened. We celebrate the bravery, and we mourn the loss all at the same time. And that's how we as a community will survive this once again, as we have all these years. And we really appreciate the attention that we're getting on this. That also gives us great comfort. Thank you to the news media for seeing how important this is to us. And thank you all for coming. And especially and one other thing I wanted to say, as a mayor of a small city, we have first responders, we have the fire department, and we have the police department. And we have been blessed to have been joined by the U.S. Coast Guard on this. They have acted as our first responders with professionalism and empathy that is incredible, and that also gives us all comfort. So thank you for that. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And it is indeed true that this community has a great legacy and a history that's been written by brave and courageous people, far too many whom have lost their lives. But that legacy has also made us resilient and strong, and we will continue in that respect. I do also want to recognize Angela Sanfilippo from the Gloucester Fishermen's Wives Association. Angela, thank you for being here, and we know the role that you will play as well in the coming days. It's been mentioned at the microphone that there has been support and expressions of support coming in throughout the last 24 hours. We have heard from our sister communities. We've heard from folks in Portland, New Bedford, the South Shore. Gloucester is very fortunate to have two sister cities in the maritime provinces, Lunenburg, Nova Scotia, and Shelburne, Nova Scotia. We have heard from them. The bond between our communities is very strong, and it will continue to be so. We deeply appreciate the support that we're getting up and down the East Coast of the United States of America. And to be able to give us a sense of the close-knit nature of the fishing community and what this means, not only to our fleet, but the New England fleet and beyond. We're going to hear from Vito Gigoloni, who is the Government Affairs Director for the Northeast Seafood Coalition. Vito?
Thank you, everybody. First of all, I know I'll forget if I don't thank these folks that are here. I mean, Governor Healy's been here for 2 straight days. Amazing. And probably most people don't know she actually has roots in Gloucester, the Morrissey family I know you're related to, and I grew up with them, and they've lost a lot of people at sea during the days of the Grand Banks cod fishery. Bruce Tarr, we're so blessed here. We recently lost Margaret Ferrante, who was always a huge advocate for us. They worked as a tandem for years. You can see the emotion in Bruce's voice and talking. And I don't want to forget to thank the Gloucester Coast Guard, or the United States Coast Guard. I started fishing in 1977, and I can't count how many times they've come out in the most incredible weather to rescue or to tow a boat back. Fearless people. And God bless you all for doing what you do. Before I get into, this is the hardest loss for me, personally. It's been, since 77, lost so many people that we've known personally, but there are people on this boat that I've known for years that I felt like brothers. And it's so hard on the community, and the only comfort here and there that we get in between crying is, I can't even tell you, from Portland, Maine to Point Judith, Rhode Island to New Bedford, personal calls and text messages with hearts and broken hearts and saying our hearts go out to you. It is so important because the fishing community is extended. It starts at your own port, but once you get out into federal waters, it's everybody with a federal permit, from down East Maine to Rhode Island, basically, is our area of fishing. And those brothers all feel this so badly, even when they don't know who these people are. So it means so much to see people feel that pain. But if you've operated a vessel, owned a vessel, and gone through this, or been a crewman, like I've been all of the above, the feeling we get of knowing what that must have been like for all of them. God rest their souls. We appreciate your support. We're going to have services and things coming up that's going to open these wounds again for all of us. So thank you all for being here. We really appreciate it. And we hope that these events get less frequent, but they're going to happen. They're going to happen. It's a dangerous business. There's just no way around it. And I'm sure the Coast Guard will do a great job in doing an investigation and understanding what the actual cause was. But may they all rest in peace, and God bless.
Thank you, Vito. Before we move on, I just want to highlight that theme that Vito raised. Remember, we want people to eat seafood. We want people to eat seafood from Massachusetts and New England. And folks are willing to risk their lives so that you can have that fresh seafood product. And remember, when you're enjoying it, the person on the deck, the person on the wheelhouse, the people that work hard so that we can have that product, they're out there every day. They're out there today. This is a painful reminder of the risk that they accept. Let's never forget that, ever. We want to talk about the action steps that we're going to take, and we're very fortunate in Massachusetts and in New England to have the Massachusetts Fishermen's Partnership Support Services. Their genesis was in the industry itself, people coming together to build an organization, first to be able to assist with health insurance, but now to do so many things, including safety training, which we think about today, but a whole host of other support mechanisms. And I am so proud that we support them in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts with funding and with regulatory assistance, and to speak on their behalf, and he's got many members of his team here today. We're going to hear from the Executive Director of the Fishermen's Partnership Support Services, J.J. Bartlett. J.J.
I want to start by thanking Al and Joe, Vito, all the fishermen here for risking your lives to feed us every day. And our hearts are broken for you and for the families who have suffered through this tremendous loss. Now it's our time to be here for you. We're going to be here today, tomorrow, coming weeks, coming months, whatever you need. We have community health workers from fishing families. Today they're going to be at the church, Our Lady of Good Voyage Hall. It's the hall next to the church. We'll be there all afternoon. We have hotels for families who are coming out from out of town. I think more importantly, we have crisis and grief counselors that are available. They're here right now. They'll be available all afternoon, and they'll be available in the coming weeks and months, as I said. They're here from Riverside Trauma. I'd also just like to add that if you need anything in the meantime, you can connect to us through our community health worker, Morgan Eldridge, and her number is 774-722-0737. So any services you might need, please, families, reach out to Morgan Eldridge, 774-722-0737. And again, thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you very much, JJ. And we know that there's already been a lot of expression of folks that want to make a contribution, want to make a donation to support these families. And while they'll likely be stood up in the next several hours, individual funds for different families, we want to remind folks that you can make a contribution to the Fishermen's Partnership on their website,
Fishingpartnership.org.
fishingpartnership.org. And we ask that when you do that, you make note that this contribution is being made for the Lily Jean, so that we can make sure that those resources go to the place that they need to go right now. And we are deeply, deeply appreciative, JJ, for everything that you always do. Very deeply appreciative.
Thank you, sir.
So we have a little bit of an opportunity to answer your questions. As I mentioned at the outset, we'll do the best we can to provide you with accurate and responsible information. We will not speculate. There's too much of that already going on. We will not venture into places that give a false hope or expectation. We will provide you with the honest answers that we can now, and a commitment that we will provide further information when it is available and when it's responsible to do so. So let's open it up and ask if any of you have questions.
Any indication of the identities of those who were lost?
That information we're going to leave to the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard is still putting together all of it and strives for accuracy. We expect that it will be forthcoming in the near future, but we cannot disclose it right now.
Any indication, just any further details you could offer just about what happened? Is there anything you can say about that?
Captain, come over here.
So one thing on the release of names, we are taking due care to make sure that we're contacting all the family members, and when we get to a place where we're comfortable that that's been done, we'll release the names. I would anticipate that it would happen in a couple days. I'm not talking about a long time. Kind of shooting for maybe Monday. I think that would come in conjunction with a broader press release about the details on the investigation. With respect to the causal factors, I'd say no. I mean, that's why we do an investigation, right? But what I am comfortable saying is there was nothing that our search team saw. There was no single clue that we saw that would lead us down a certain path so far. I mean, they literally got out there, they found some debris. The debris looked like anything that would be loose on a deck, right? Things that float off of a fishing deck. And I spoke to the patrol boat captain who was out searching through the night this morning. He stated that they were fighting some pretty nasty conditions, 7 to 10 foot seas, 30 knot sustained winds, and freezing spray. They were taking on ice. They were taking on water to their to their locker chain. They had some issues with the bilge pump, but they fought through all of that, and they searched all night because our crews do a great job doing that. They conduct really disciplined operations and accept warranted risk. But I tell you, he said that they were going through, with the search patterns that we were providing them, they were going through the debris field, and in fact they passed the marker buoy that we put in that gives us more data and helps us come up with our searches. So that tells me we were looking in the right place, and that also tells me that if someone had been in a survival suit, there's a high probability we would have found someone in that location. And unfortunately, we didn't.
Captain, could you review with us the timeline of what you do know, timeline of events, and also explain to us how in a situation like this, an investigation happens when you don't have a lot of evidence and just have that?
So with respect to the timeline, we received a beacon alert, and we immediately launched assets, a helicopter. The helicopter arrived on scene about 40 minutes later. They immediately found a debris field, and we found that first person that we recovered that was non-responsive. And then we continued to search throughout the day with various assets and through the night and into this morning. There really isn't a lot more to the timeline. I'll tell you, that's what the investigation is for, right? They're going to reconstruct the timeline. I'm not an investigator. The investigation's being conducted by the Northeast Coast Guard District. That's who I work for. I'll have members of the Sector Boston team on the investigation team. But what I am comfortable is they will do a thorough investigation, and they will do everything they can to try to find out what the causal factors were.
What time of that first alert, and how far out was the search? How many miles out?
It was about 25 miles or so, and it came in around between 6:30 in the morning. I can't remember the exact time, but it was in approximately 6:20 or 6:30 in the morning.
Two relevant points here are that an emergency positioning radio beacon was activated. That was the first sign
Yep.
that there was distress here. That beacon is not activated necessarily by a human action. It is programmed to activate automatically when it senses water. The second thing is that there was a raft discovered on scene without an inhabitant. That raft also was made capable of deploying without human intervention. They have a hydrostatic switch, and when they reach a certain depth, the raft deploys and rises to the surface. So in both of those cases, those actions happened without the necessity of a human action to precipitate them.
Yes, sir.
Captain, just got a question on,
Yes, sir.
have they been pinpointed the boat exactly where it sank and where it is?
We have the last known position, but
That's it?
yes, sir. And
Did you see like a fuel cloud on the water with,
yeah, I'm not sure if there
Maybe-
was I'm not sure if there was sheening. That wasn't in the reports that I saw. Just the debris field, but that'll be part of the investigation. Obviously, is
so the
going
reason
from
I'm
there.
asking is, the photo show water there too, where it kind of went down. I was just wondering, with today's technology, there could be some kind of cut.
Yes, sir.
The crew,
Yes, sir.
So, Joe, that's certainly something that we've all been thinking about, and in the days ahead, we'll be thinking about whether that is possible and how it might be accomplished. But that is a discussion for some time from now, while we get through right now, which is standing up all the things we can do to support the families.
I know we've done it in the past, that's why I was.
It's, we are thinking through all of the scenarios, Joe, where that might be possible, and we may well call you for some advice.
I have to.
It's okay. All right, we have time for a couple more questions. Anybody has them?
When was the last time this number of people were lost at sea out of Gloucester?
That's a good question that I can't answer off the top of my head. We can try to find that for you.
Can you repeat the question?
Question was, Angela, when was the last time this many people were lost in a vessel? 1978.
I think 78, the Captain
Goes-
Cosmo was the last one. I think they had 7.
And this goes back to 1994. I remember it was the Italian gold.
Tangle.
We lost everybody,
Yep.
except one. And then the day we did the inauguration, the Gloucester Fisherman's Wife Memorial, the steel bound Here we are, 5,000 people at the boulevard to celebrate and honor a fisherman's wife. And that we never wanted to be part of a widow. But here we go. And I still say to myself, how do we carry on? And I like that. And there's only one survivor and nobody else.
Unfortunately, this has happened far too often, but it has given us strength in the community, and it has given us a resilience that will serve us well now. So we're going to conclude.
Can I just add one
Yes,
thing?
please, Governor.
And I just want to thank Senator Tarr, who nobody cares more deeply about the community. And I know everyone is grateful to you, Bruce, for your strength. And, you know, I know it follows Ann Margaret's passing, and that's also hard on everybody. So we think of her today as well. To your question, you know, one thing I want people to know, Gloucester is a special community. And the fishing community is a special community. The grit, the resilience, the danger is something that you just don't see in other livelihoods, or at least many other livelihoods. And I say that because your question about the number of lives lost in this, and it does bring up these other times when vessels have gone down. But I also want people to know that every day people are at risk just trying to make a living, okay? People are out there hustling, limited number of days at sea. They got to go out and get a good haul and bring it back and hope the market works out for them. They're trying to feed their families. And this is a really hard profession. It's hard on the fishermen. It's hard on their families. And not as frequently reported are the number of instances when things happen on boats. People fall off. The weather, the conditions are severe. So it's not just the times that we read about in significant loss of life like this, but it's every year. It happens all the time. And that's what I want people in Massachusetts to understand. In a place where we revere and respect and honor our maritime history and our fishing history. It's more than lore. It's more than stories. It's people and lives and families and generations who live this way. And that's why, as a state, we'll certainly do everything we can to continue to support fishing families in the fishing community. But I just wanted to note that this is something that is a danger, and there's injury and harm and death all the time in this space.